Welcome to Affinity Photo. Now we've looked at adding artificial circular bokeh to our images, but we're just going to do a slight twist on that. And instead, we're going to try and reproduce the look of certain lenses that produce swirling bokeh. So the first thing I'll do is duplicate my background pixel layer. I then want to uncheck the original layer. And we're going to do something a bit interesting here. We're going to select the selection brush and select the focal plane that the subject is on. Then we'll go into Refine and we'll just add maximum feather to the selection. Click Apply. Then we are going to delete that part of the duplicated pixel layer. So I'll go ahead and deselect. Then I'll go into Filters, Blur, Maximum Blur. We'll check Circular and drag the radius slider up until we get our desired amount of circular bokeh. About there should be okay, so we'll click Apply. Then what we're going to do now is actually fill in this deleted area with the in-painting brush tool. So just use a big, wide brush just to cover this area, like so. Okay, we can just see a couple of bits that we've missed here. So we'll go over these again. Okay, then I'll select the hand tool. Now don't worry about the very obvious repetition and visible seams here. We'll go to Filters, Blur and Radial Blur. Then we want to use ever such a small value. Usually 1 degree is more than enough, and click Apply. Okay, at this point we want to turn the original background layer on. Then with the bokeh layer selected, we'll add a layer mask like so. Select the layer mask, select the paintbrush tool, increase the brush size, we'll reduce the hardness, and we're just going to roughly, for now, paint in the subject. Okay, so we've got our subject roughly back in. What we want to do now is take the opacity down some, perhaps to about 50%, and gradually paint out the bokeh. Then take the opacity down even further. So this is more of a layered approach. Okay, so now what we'll do is swap the brush color. You can do this with the shortcut key, and then again with a low opacity, we're just going to paint certain areas of the bokeh back in. Use an even lower opacity. Again, just so we're building up texture here. Okay, so the only step that remains now is to try and match this new bokeh we've just created tonally with the original image. You'll typically notice when using maximum blur that the result is much brighter overall. So to combat this, we can simply go in, add a brightness and contrast adjustment, and then click drag it into the bokeh layer like so. And usually just taking the brightness down a touch and then adding a tiny bit of contrast is usually sufficient to make it match. So if I go ahead and uncheck the background pixel layer entirely, you can see the original image. I'll go ahead and check the bokeh layer, and there's the end result. So if we look at the bokeh, we've achieved a swirling radial effect that gradually gets stronger towards the edges of the image. So do experiment, and also you can get slightly different results if you do your radial blur first and then you do your maximum blur. I hope this has given you some ideas. If you have any questions or queries, please do ask on the official Affinity forums. Thank you for watching.